Nation.
Hey, yeah, what up, my people? What up? Now, this video definitely was supposed to be dropped for y'all yesterday. As I've already told y'all several times before that I'm going through a little transition with the family. You know, they're gearing up to move. I forgot to update y'all on that too. I'm trying to get mentally ready for this funeral, figuring out a way to keep in contact with the family. You know, that whole thing. Once all that is squared away and I'm finished with this story/documentary that I'm dropping, A Light Lost in Darkness, we will be back to regular scheduled program. But as of right now, cut your boy some slack. But anyway, let's get into it. Without further ado, I go by D-Jack, but you can call me D.
So I go extra hard on that hard flow.
Call me D. Now it's the year 2011, and a 10-year-old boy by the name of Gio Jr. sat on the front porch of his apartment, clutching a football in his hands. Now he waited for his dad, Gio Sr., to come home from work, while his mom, Carrie, got dressed and ready for night school, all while other kids in the neighborhood ran around the courtyard playing tag. But for him, he still only wanted his dad as his playmate. But there was a girl named Carly who always had a crush on him, no matter how shy he was to interact with her. She called his name on her way towards him, and she then sat down beside him, asking if he wanted to play with her. Just you and me. And after a few no's, I'm waiting for my dad's and maybe later's, he finally says yes. Now Gio, he never felt he fit into his neighborhood. Living in South Memphis, Tennessee, him having a white mother and black father alone designated him outcast number one, which also meant he was picked on for his very light skin color and curly hair. They lived in one of the most dangerous areas on that side of town, which was called Riverside. Even while surrounded by gangs, drugs, and death, Gio is what you would call a hood nerd. He dressed like the hood, talked like the hood, but his heart, mind, and soul always felt out of place. Now in the middle of talking with Carly in the front yard, minutes later, he watched that tan Lincoln float down the road, and there he was, his dad, pulling inside the parking lot. After getting out the car, he threw out his hands. Gio come running towards him for a hug. He immediately asked if his dad wanted to play with him, but he was exhausted after a 10-hour shift driving trucks, so he suggested that they should just play video games instead. And Gio looked confused like, but we don't have a video game to play. Not responding, Big Gio then opened the car door to the back seat. You sure about that? Coming out with a big white bag from GameStop. Now his dad, he thought it'd be better since he was always too tired to do anything physical with him. His mother Carrie walked in. Gio was sitting in the living room, hooking up his new Xbox, and she was pissed at the sight of that money pit, is what she would call it. Big Gio, fresh out the shower, comes down at that exact moment, kissing his wife goodbye. But he saw a look on her face that screamed, I'm not happy about this. She cussed and fussed at him about spending money that they don't have, saying Gio should just go outside and play if he was so bored. Now this would be the third argument this week about finances, and Big Gio done had enough. He was sick of it, but in a very subtle tone, he told her, we will be fine. Trust me. Now go to school before you late. We can talk about it later. Giving her a peck on the forehead right after. Now Carrie stormed out the front door. Big Gio hop over the couch, plopping down beside his son, who had a smile his dad never seen before, not regretting buying him that game one bit. And they both sat there for hours, spending more time together than ever before. It became time to eat, so his dad told him go ahead and wash up while he prepared dinner. Before he could actually get up the stairs, he heard a faint knock at the screen door. You know, during the spring summer months, they would leave the main door open, so if someone did knock, you could clearly see who it was. But all he saw was an empty space where a person should be. And it didn't help that the sun was setting, making outside seem darker than it actually was. So with no clear sign somebody was actually there, Gio froze in place, thinking it could be what he called a robber man. But he heard that familiar voice calling his name again. Gio, it's me, Carly. Gio looked back toward the kitchen, just knowing his dad was on his way in, but he never did. And quickly he opens the door, asking her why she was out so late. Where's your mom? Being over concerned for his only friend, she said that he forgot to come back out and play with her and that she's been waiting. And out of nowhere, his dad cuts in, catching Gio so off guard that his heart skips a goddamn beat.
Who the hell you opening this door for this late at night? You know better.
Gio trying to explain that it was just Carly, pointing in the direction of the little girl. His dad now opening the screen door, looking for this Carly girl he claimed he was talking to, but He seen no one. It was actually kind of quiet for it to be a Saturday night in the projects. He asked Gio not to play them type of games because it's such a dangerous area that they live in. Gio pushes open the door now, not believing she could be that fast. Even if she were, he should still be able to see wherever she's running off to because of how wide open this courtyard was between his apartment and hers. He swears to his dad she was just here. He wouldn't lie to him about that. And his dad asked him, who's Carly anyway? Because everyone who lived here either knew of or at least heard of you, even if you never held a conversation. He bent down to his son, saying it's okay, just go get washed up before mom comes home. And Gio did so. His dad called his mother Carrie, wondering if she heard of this mystery girl named Carly. Also, it's the same result. She's never heard of, ran across a little girl with that name either. Now his mom was rightfully concerned, so a half hour before class would end, she went home to her family. She ran down the same questions as his dad did, with no big reveal out of it. So as shaken as his parents were about it, they decided to let it go. Now one after another, 3 years came and went. Little Gio is a little older now, right in the middle of his puberty stages. They were no longer living in South Memphis. After graduating, his mother Carrie started earning twice her normal salary, so combined with Big Gio's pay, they were comfortable. They also moved in Carrie's mother, who was battling cancer at the time, so his parents were certain that they had created a better environment for Gio by moving to Nashville, Tennessee. But even though the view was changed, the circumstances was better, Gio felt the same, as if he was still that 10-year-old boy on the porch in Riverside. The same way Gio watched and observed everyone around him, he did the same with his parents. And he noticed how cold and callous his mother came to be towards his dad, snapping at every turn, answering questions with questions, and being very brief with him about any concerns he had with their relationship. Gio saw his dad in the worst pain ever. A man he watched take care of them for years. The man working double shifts to pay for his mom's education, and that same man was losing the love of his life in real time. So with his parents' dynamic so rocky, he never felt more invisible. His mom gone for hours throughout day and night. His dad engulfed with so much depression and heartbreak that he would go days without even speaking. Just an empty shell, running on autopilot. Gio was at his 7th period class at his new middle school, and he sat by a wall, gazing into space. He was having a deja vu moment as he watched all the other kids run up and down that basketball court playing a pickup game. Gio never got into sports, and at the age where he considered playing, he was too shy to play with others, and his dad was too tired to play with him. So any love he would have gained for any sport faded years ago. He turned his attention to the clock on the wall. Seeing that it's 15 minutes until the bell rang, he went to the locker room early before all the other guys in his class. Fully clothed into his regular gear, watching himself through the mirror, he heard a voice he ain't heard in years. Gio, Gio, Gio. The voice getting louder and louder, and he thought he might be going crazy, like really going crazy. As the name calling stopped, Carly said, "There you are, cutie," whipping his head up, excited to see her. But how? He asked, when did she move to Nashville? And he didn't expect the answer he got, which was a month before he did. Besides this being a big-ass coincidence, he had a lot of questions, like, what happened to you that day at my front door? Where did you go? Why haven't I seen you since? And why am I just now seeing you in school? Holding her finger over his lips to stop talking, she said she wanted to have fun like they used to back in Memphis, but something a little different. While looking around the locker room, just knowing one of his classmates is gonna be in there soon, Carly holds out what looks like a Tylenol pill inside the palm of her hand. What's that? Telling Carly he doesn't have a headache or anything, so he's good, turning the idea of her fun down. She said to him, not the pain up there, cutie, but the pain in here. Now holding her hand over his chest. Gio suddenly had a jump scare, hearing one of the boys banging on the lockers, excited because he was a part of the team who won the pickup game. He looked back at Carly, hoping she doesn't get caught in the boys' locker room, but just like that night 3 years ago, she was gone. He held out his hand, being sure that what he was seeing was actually real. And sure enough, the pill was still there. But this time, he ain't want to wait for the next time she pops up. He wanted to embrace the friendship he's never had with anyone. So he sprints out the locker room, even knocking a few guys down on his way out, chasing that dire need for human connection. He makes it into the hallway outside the gym, and there she was, leaning on the edge of the stairwell, almost as if she was waiting on him. He ran over, talking gibberish, and she told him to slow down and just tell me what's going on. He takes a breath, and he asked if he could walk her home after school. And she responded with a, "How about now?" Basically telling him to ditch the rest of 7th period. He never did anything remotely rebellious, so he hesitated. While Gio contemplated, he saw Carly placing a pill of her own in her mouth. And she told him, "Your turn." And so he did. In that same moment, the boys he knocked over caught up with him, looking to put in some pain.
Who you talking to, weirdo?
With his eyes closed, he was on fire inside, because all he wanted was to be alone with Carly. He turned himself around screaming back, "Leave us the fuck alone." They all stood there confused, and after a short pause, the ringleader asked him,
Who the hell is us, nerd?
bursting out laughing with the rest of his friends. Gio turned back to Carly, and once again, Carly was gone. Thinking these guys scared her away, he ran up the stairwell and found the nearest exit out of the school to look for Carly. He found her a block away from the school at a bus stop, and he immediately apologized for scaring her off. She assured him that she's okay now that he's here. He then sat down beside his childhood friend, waiting for the city bus to arrive. Now, it wasn't until a bus got there that he thought about the fact that he's never ridden a bus before. But Carly said she knew her way around. Gio follows her onto the bus, and before sitting, he heard her get a driver a street name, asking if he had stops close to it. The driver agrees. After sitting down, Gio felt a wave of euphoric happiness fill up in his stomach, and not because of Carly. That pill was kicking in for the very first time. Upon reaching their stop, the sound of pressure being released from the hydraulics on the bus wakes him up. He stood up, noticing Carly wasn't beside him anymore, and he rushes off the bus. Now, as little as he knew about his new neighborhood, he still recognized where he was, but he thought to himself, where is Carly? First he felt worry, then came fear, and ultimately, that good friend called pain showed his face. So now, dragging himself in the direction of home, the effects from the pill he consumed about an hour ago was on full blast. So even though his feelings was hurt, his body and mind was calm as a summer breeze. He's now a block away from home and spots a girl matching Carly's hair color, leaving out the house beside his own. His first thought, it couldn't be Carly, because she rode the same bus he did at the same damn time. Gio observed everyone and everything around him daily, so he was very, very sure there was a white family who lived in that home. And as she got closer, he noticed that this girl also had on the same bright pink shoes Carly wore today. The only difference was the white hoodie she had on, hiding her face. How the hell was she able to get home, change into a hoodie, and meet me a half block away, all before I got home? Feeling like his mind was playing sick tricks on him, he runs past the supposed Carly towards his front door. With his dad at work and his mom's would usually be getting rest around this time for her shift later on that night, she always left the door unlocked before he got home, even though he had his own house key. So running into a locked door surprised him. He turns around thinking maybe it's not Carly, because she would have spoken to him by now. But there she was, standing at the top of his walkway, now with her hoodie down, asking did she scare him. Relieved, he jogs towards Carly and on impulse gives her a hug, feeling like everything was grand again. But darkness in his life had other plans. A single gunshot from his home made him duck to the ground, and as scared as he was more worried than anything. He shot up off the ground, pulling his backpack off as he ran to the door. Finding his house key, he made his way in, and as if nothing could be worse than what he was seeing right now, there was no emotion involved in his reaction. He could hear his grandmother yelling from the guest room, "Was everything all right? Is everything okay? What was that noise?" But he had no response. He walked past his mother's body, stretched out on the living room floor, and with his back towards the wall, he sat on the floor beside her. He took out his cell phone, used his t-shirt to wipe the blood from the screen, and while dialing 911, Carly sat down beside him, holding out a prescription bottle in her hand. Gio twisted off the top, making his way back into that happy place of darkness. Now his dad wouldn't be home for another hour. Frozen where he stood after walking through that wide open door, his son still sat in the same spot, sleep. while his mother's body lay 2 feet away from him. Now, you couldn't imagine what Big Gio was thinking. He could hear his wife's mother, who was at first concerned, but now trying to scream for help, yelling she's scared and in pain. She had a scheduled time to take her meds, but no one's really been active at looking after her in the past week. Mom's been gone days and nights. Dad's a depressed workaholic. Gio himself, he will forget that she's even there on several occasions, unless he had to go inside her room to turn off her alarms that reminded her to take the next dosage. Now, after snapping out of his trance, Big Gio took out his phone, dialed 911 while walking over to Gio Jr. But before he could shake him awake, he noticed something shimmering, almost a reflection sticking out from under his son's legs. He tucked his phone back into his pocket, just hoping his thoughts was not reality, and he's thinking exactly what anyone else would. Walking in on a scene like that, this horrific, what other explanation would there be? Now, as he got lower to the floor, he could see the object clearly now. It was the biggest kitchen knife in the house, but his mental state was all over the place. He didn't notice that Carly was actually shot, not stabbed to death. So thinking his son did the deed, he refrained from calling the police to figure out a way to save his son. Now, in the midst of all this, he could still hear Grandma calling for help, which made it harder for him to think straight. He sprints into her room and was hit by this strong body odor from her life. She hadn't showered or washed in days. She pleaded and pleaded for her pain meds, no matter how many times he asked her where they were. Now, leaving out of the room, quickly he's trying to go shake Gio Jr. awake to ask him if he knew where they was, but got no reaction. He tries again, a lot harder this time, no dice, but he hears something hit the floor after shaking his son for the third go. It was a pill bottle. Big Gio noticed the name printed on the label and was confused, but he had no time to figure it out, so he picked him up and brung her bottle. He knew there wasn't any chance in hell that he could fix this situation, so against his first mind, he calls the police. Afterwards, he picks up little Gio, take him out to the porch, and waited for them to pull up. He's trying to think of any reason this could be what he think it is, because evidently he think his son just murdered his mother, is what the police thinks as they're walking up towards him. Big Gio looking like he doesn't know what the is going on. He wants answers himself, is the energy that the police is getting from him. As EMT hit the scene, they revive him to later on tell him that he OD'd off of oxy. He had some feeling of guilt, but more so relieved. A few days would pass, and they would finally interrogate Gio Jr. And all he keeps bringing up is Carly. He wants to know where's Carly. Hey, you can ask Carly. She was there with me. She's the one who passed me the pills. I didn't start taking them until she gave them to me. No one knows who Carly is. Way back when, before the move, Carly has been in his life. Now, when they bring Carly up to Big Gio, he recognizes the name, saying that he blew it off as an imaginary friend. You know, he doesn't really have friends, so it's only normal that he makes one up. Simple enough. But yet and still, it didn't explain why he would go off and murder his mother. It didn't explain why he had the biggest kitchen knife under his legs upon being found beside his deceased mother. So after further investigation, talking to Big Gio a little bit more, they notified him that his son had a mental condition where he did see people. In his mind, he is seeing Carly. Carly is real in his mind. He actually took the pills himself, but in his mind, Carly gave them to him. And with his condition, the opiates he was taking was actually balancing and mellowing him out. So at times where he was high, he didn't see Carly, which explains why he saw her more often before the move than when he did move and only seen her in spurts. And they compared the evidence to what Big Gio and Little Gio has told him, and the end result was Big Gio killed his wife. Big Gio would find out that his wife is cheating. Ben knew his wife was cheating. He kills his wife. And the only understanding they had with Little Gio and the knife under his legs was him trying to protect his mother. Even though she's already on the ground, dead, in his mind, he wanted to protect his mother. Grandmother would be sent to assisted living. Big Gio would get a life sentence. And Little Gio would get the help that he always needed. First off, before I leave this message, I know this story right here was a little different. It kind of touched on a different side of addiction, you know, dealing with other mental instabilities or certain things that you wouldn't even imagine a person going through. So other than entertainment, I wanted to give y'all a different side of addiction, a different side of drug use, you know, because it's not just one side. But the message I do want to leave with y'all is this. Never perceive a situation to be one way. How many times have you looked at a situation, right, and was like, oh, it's that. Oh, don't worry about it. I'm guilty of it myself. I done did that so many times where I've looked at a situation and said, you just da-da-da-da. Week later, boom. I know a lot of people like to live in denial when they're going through certain things. You know, when it came to my addiction, I tried to fight that. I could never see myself as this. You know, it's that, it's one of those. But I had to judge myself as I judged others when I was younger. But I do know we live in an era where you mind your business. Unless somebody asks for help, you won't give it because of certain situations that happened in the past where somebody would try to help and they put themselves in the trick basket. So it's fickle, it's tricky, but help is help no matter how you look at it. And with that being said, that's all I got. Y'all stay safe, y'all stay positive, y'all stay sober. If you ain't moving, you losing, my boy. And we out.
Call me, D.
Hustler talk, no comment though, just paper chase. Chasing my dreams, my nightmares ain't got no money. Just a cardboard sign and they existing so bummy. And they want me down with them at the bottom of the